Welcome everyone to what is actually the final episode of our first season of The Next Question. So thank you all for joining us. I'm Byron Tarry, your host. I'm excited today to, I guess, go out with a bit of a bang with a couple of guests from what I would suggest is probably a pretty important player in this AI and transformation space, and that is Microsoft. So I guess rather than create introductions, I'll let the two of you introduce yourself. Perhaps just a little bit of background in a minute or two of the journey. Mehryn, most people probably know you to some extent if they've been in the industry for a while. So perhaps I'll get you to start, and then Brennan, I'll ask you to sort of give a bit of a path to your journey to where we are today and your role. So Mehryn.
All right, sounds good. I'm happy to be here and close out the year with you, Byron. I, for those that are listening, am a part of the engineering team now at Microsoft that represents calling, meeting, and devices. But my team particularly focuses on partners in the ecosystem, supporting plays like Teams Rooms, Microsoft Places, Microsoft Teams Live Events. And basically what we represent is a product category called the AI-powered workplace. So pretty exciting. I've been in this team for about 5 years now. Previously in the industry, as you know, Byron, I've been on the hardware side. I've been at distribution. And I joined Microsoft in 2020 at a very wonderful time of when everybody was racing to the cloud when COVID happened. So I've been on quite the skyrocket journey with Teams from the beginning, and it's been a fun ride. But really excited for Brennan today to introduce himself because it's a newer category that I've begun to focus on, expanded from just focusing on rooms to now places as well. So excited to have Brennan introduce himself because he's got a really cool background.
Well, thanks, Mehryn. And Byron, appreciate you having us both here. I'm Brennan McReynolds. I lead product strategy in the Places product engineering group. I'm 2.5 years new to Microsoft. I will continue to say new because the world is rapidly changing around us as a result of AI, and building a new product like Places and Microsoft in this era, an age of AI, is a lot to consume. So my background is I spent pretty much my entire career in the built environment. That's been in construction, actually building out offices and leading a team to that, to then getting into technology. Moving into corporate real estate, working for CBRE, the world's largest real estate services firm, where I led workplace experience services and technologies there. So I've been thinking very deliberately about this space of the workplace and how do we elevate the experiences that happen within it with our employees, creating connection and collaboration, at the same time optimizing the way that we think about utilizing our space, the purpose of this workplace itself, and how do we enable it with technology. So this is, I'm learning more about the legacy space that you and Mehryn have been leading and driving for a while. So this is a fun conversation to pick up some nuance and new things on my end. But it's been a great partnership with the Teams, Rooms, and Devices business as we build out this AI-powered workplace. So thanks again for having me.
Yeah, well, look, hey, 2.5 years is an eternity in some ways in this moment. So, yeah, look, I think what excited me in bringing the two of you together is we've often over the years talked about this people space technology alignment in our industry and the importance of all of them, and yet sometimes as the AV industry we get a bit too caught into the technology and so on. And so I think this match of discussion between you and Mehryn here is a great combined fit of all those elements in what this AI-powered workplace that you talk about, Mehryn, is all about. So why don't we start with you, Mehryn, on I think we're all very familiar with the Teams concept, and certainly it's been an incredible journey over the last 5 years, I guess, of the transition of Teams to now being this sort of incredibly dominant place, but you've been on that journey for the last little bit of a transition to say, no, it's actually this much wider proposition. So for those that live and breathe in the Teams world, what is this new AI-powered workplace strategy from Microsoft? how's that viewed? And then, I guess we can transition that to Brennan as to where this places ecosystem becomes so critical and important to that.
I think it's broadening the message. Essentially, we want to simplify work and have basically Microsoft's key mantra is allowing people to be more productive in what they're doing. So Teams has been a wonderful platform, and there's so many capabilities. If you're following our business, I mean, every single week there's new features available in Teams and Teams meetings and Teams calling and devices. But I'd say the message has changed in that we're focused more on workflow and allowing people to simplify, eliminate the friction. What's really cool, though, I would say, is the things that we focus on, Byron, and our careers are built on, our natural voice, being able to have that drive our AI experience is great. So having eyes, ears in all types of different places in our meeting rooms, within our devices, has become more and more critical to not just work, but just everyday life. So I think it's been interesting to see how that's proliferated. I think Places is one of the first places that you'll see all of these new technologies appear. But for us particularly, it's rooms, places, and Teams. Events is a newer category that our team has taken responsibility for. And that's essentially bringing people together. If you're having a meeting or you're hosting an event or you're physically sitting together in a room, those are all experiences where you're coming together. And how can we help you be more productive in those moments, have a better experience, and ultimately get your message across? And there's so many directions we could take this conversation, but I would say I'm really excited about what our partner ecosystem has done too, because they've taken what we've offered and then layered so many things on top of it that they can bring to the table. So it's gotten really exciting over the last couple of years.
I love that premise of the eyes and ears, because, frankly, the foundational thing to AI right now of even a gap is this context proposition that it only knows as much as you've given it. And the unique thing, I guess, about the Microsoft stack is that it is so broad across the context of an entire organization. And so when you enable that broader context, it gives incredible power. And so perhaps that's a nice lead in, Brennan, to the Places story that this sort of workplace management thing has been so driven by sensors and so on in the past. It's never really taken off. And yet the power of the Microsoft data stack is really the engine behind what you're sort of trying to achieve in leveraging frictioneering, as I call it, in the sort of workflow of the workplace and so on. So why don't you perhaps sort of start with the broader objective? We won't necessarily get into huge amounts of roadmap, but what's the vision and the objective of what Places does to become an enabler to, instead of Teams just being a platform, becoming a place and a space, or that AI stack becoming a place and a space for the collaborative workflows and so on, and how Places fits into that.
There's so many. If you think about, if we think about the from to today across Microsoft, within M365, there's really never been a proper home for the workplace. So when we say AI-powered workplaces, acknowledging that you have rooms in Exchange, you have room lists. It's typically how customers are organizing the rooms to book them, and we have Teams rooms, right? But those rooms don't make up. They're not organized in a way that represent the role of the workplace. So we're very deliberate. And when we say workplace, it's because we want to understand and then support, analyze the role of the workplace and how it's being used, and how to create, as Mehryn said, the effectiveness of the workplace, of a room itself, the connection and collaboration that happens within it that ultimately leads to employee experience. But in order to do that well, you have to organize that space. So that's what the Places directory foundationally is there for, is that buildings, rooms, floors, desks all now have a proper home within a structured hierarchy that exists across M365. Ultimately, that then now empowers this concept of location intelligence, such that Work IQ and Copilot can leverage that context of location to deliver better, more meaningful, purposeful experiences. So when you think about what is Places, it's we're going to structure each of those data entities relative to a space such that we can begin to deliver more meaningful experiences to the employee relative to where they're going to be and with whom and when. So, and a lot of that has evolved. I mean, you think about the premise of Places originally was about supporting the uncertainty around return to office. And, with that, we've we've grown and expanded not only the capabilities, but also really the outcome of our organization to really drive what is the future of in-person connection and collaboration, while also thinking about the usage of, most organizations' second largest expense next to people is their real estate portfolio. And at a time of uncertainty, well, how is that being used? Is it being used effectively? And how do I think about those dollars relative to my allocation of technology spend at a room level or at an AI level? It's really important that we can arm our customers with that value to make sure that they're appropriately spending their dollars to create the experiences that are most meaningful to each of their different businesses and the employees in those offices. So, there's a lot to tackle in this space. But
So what is, the vision for Teams actually started in certainly a pre-GPT, sort of commoditization of AI. And I guess it's been, a 4 or 5 year journey, I guess, from the sort of initial intents to then pre-releases and so on. But what is different in this AI age now that's allowing you to fulfill that mission and objective that really just wasn't feasible in the past? I mean, plenty of people have been tackling workplace and workspace management for years and so on. But what is so unique about the moment and then about the Microsoft ecosystem in how it can tackle that as opposed to what we've perhaps tried to do in the past?
I'll respond to your question, Byron, but flipping upside down. What's unique about Microsoft in this space is that we can meet that user where they are. We're not trying to build all of the totality workplace management experiences that are needed in the market. That's not our intended outcome. But these core experiences that are important to our day-to-day use of the workplace or connecting with others in the workplace is what we're going to be best at, using the surfaces we have across Microsoft Calendar, which, surprisingly to some people, the Places team actually sits within a broader organization named Time and Place, which is Microsoft Calendar, right? So we're really here to meet the user where they are with this location context. So we have to really do that well, and then do that uniquely with the partners in the market who also have these broader capabilities. So one, we're gonna deliver these kind of experiences on the canvas. Second, to your question about AI, and you used the word context earlier, and I think that will be, probably a theme here across this discussion of that is what AI is bringing here. If I think about our previous mindset is this request, search is really a request for something and you get it back. If I think about prompts, that's more proactive in nature. We can now say, find time to meet with Mehryn this week, and then Copilot's going to return an answer and say, well, do you also need a room? And so there's this continuation or this workflow that is more contextually relevant to what you need to very quickly kind of get through what you want to accomplish. And I think that's the biggest change that we're seeing, whether it's just normal productivity flow or whether it's workplace related, is that you can extend that engagement from a reaction to reactory concept to something that's more proactive in nature. Ultimately, the best room reservation experience is like no reservation experience. You shouldn't have to worry about it. It should fall into the background. So that's ultimately when we begin to think about, how do we drive this product forward, is these things should just be all a part of this very, frictionless flow.
I love that premise of I don't add a whole lot of value running around trying to pick rooms and pick times and find out when people are in the office and so on. Take that friction away from me, because AI can do that. It can create that sort of automation process so that I can focus on the important things of building my agenda and not trying to figure out, how to get people into the right room and so on. But Mehryn, I guess, take that, because that becomes the enabler to this new AI-powered workplace experience. Certainly the AI-powered workplace experience extends beyond the physical space of the office. But at the end of the day, we've gone through this huge tension of what is the office really for? And to a large degree, it is only to serve that proposition of getting people together in person, because otherwise we can all still be sitting at home in a remote environment. So how do you see that wider stack, I guess, of that AI-powered workplace being enabled by Places, and what does it change? How does it change the very nature of the workflow of what we do and how we work when we want to collaborate together?
I think that's a really good question. There's a lot of things that I could say. I think one of the most noticeable changes is it changes the decision maker. Brennan and I were chatting about the fact that when you're talking about workplace experience, you're not talking about a camera in a room and the number of chairs at the table. You're talking about workflow and experiences of the employees. So it starts to be a bigger conversation. The decision makers probably more at the C-level. It's involving HR and other stakeholders. But it's not just around hardware. It's around workflow. As I said, it's around security. It's around governance of data and making sure you have things in the right places. As Brennan pointed out, we can be proactive, but everything has to be set up right behind the scenes. Like, you've got to do the work to be able to set up your IT stack, recognize everything in Fabric is where it needs to be, so that then you can take those proactive actions. So I think our partner community has done a lot to expand capabilities, particularly, I would say, in the IT space, which you would consider, we argue a lot of times about IT versus AV. It's been embedded in what we do for years now. But it's probably the foundational elements. Like, when you talk to a customer about how they're using Teams and what they're using it for, you need to know everything related to that. Like, there's so much that goes into that conversation, and our customers are truly receptive to not just rooms, but there's things like Viva and Places and you name it. It's just, what are we going to prioritize on today? And I think a lot of our customers are hungry to hear more. It's just, what are we prioritizing at the time? There's so much to tackle, particularly in the space of M365 Copilot. That has been a very exciting journey for Microsoft in general. The uptake and the usage of M365 Copilot is astounding. And when you think about all these people that have invested millions of dollars in AI and having those tools at their employees' fingertips, what happens when you go into a meeting and you're expecting it to be recorded and have that transcript, yet the room doesn't have those capabilities or doesn't recognize who you are and who's talking? There's a lot of things that start to fall apart when you're delivering value or that room to the customer. So there's a lot more to think about, I would say, in the big picture of where does the data sit and how does AI act on it. And you have to, as a partner, be fully aware of all of that. So it's allowing people to skill up in a much broader context when it comes to the ecosystem, which is ultimately an exciting thing. From a partner point of view, it's a service opportunity that is, I would say, endless. There's a lot more to do on the advisory side of how do I make the right decision? But there's a lot to do on the adoption side, because, as you know, things are continuously evolving every day. There's new features that a lot of people just aren't even aware of because we haven't had time to even learn about it. So I would say that was a long-winded answer for it's much broader. And I think a lot of grounding around Copilot and AI, that would be the place that a lot of our partner community has spent a good amount of time with. And we've put a lot of investment in partner trainings for that. I would say that's maybe 70% of my focus is training the users and partner community on how to talk the AI story around Microsoft and how it weaves into rooms and places and events.
I want to get to the very practical, what does this mean for the integrated community, for the broader ecosystem. But let's just stick on that broadening of impact and so on, and to what that means to our customer ultimately in that stakeholder base. The idea in years past that IT and HR would be best buddies was they were almost at the complete opposite extremes, I guess, of the persona, and yet that combined reality now that companies like Moderna have actually combined those two organizations and made them one in the way that they're thinking about digital and human workforce and so on. So where is that discussion? Microsoft has the privilege of being able to have the conversation at the C-suite level, where perhaps some of the channel don't always get that. Who is the new critical stakeholder here in this discussion? Who are we knocking on the door of and actually being able to talk about this collective workplace vision, as opposed to, let me go knock on the AV guy's door or even the IT guy's door? We're seeing even new titles showing up in the workplace. So perhaps, Brennan, I'll ask you to sort of tackle that from your side of things, of having worked in the sort of CBRE world, where again that was really built around this workplace piece. But is there a new stakeholder that we're knocking on the door of, or a new set of stakeholders that we're knocking on the door of now to talk about this grand vision?
I think let's acknowledge the reality that exists today. Many CRE organizations, real estate teams report up into the CFO. And as a result of really the last 5, 6, 7 years have been a lot of optimization of the real estate footprint overall. Many organizations, most organizations have taken to reduce their footprint 30 to 50%. And it's still the second largest cost organizationally. So yes, there's a strong gravity towards real estate reporting to the CFO. And why I start there is because experience is very much an employee-centric thing that lives, and I think most of us say that's an HR item here. And then you say, well, where does IT sit? And you see what Nike just did. Nike just took IT and moved under the COO. So I think we're still at this place of like who owns what organizationally, of where, and there's a many thought leaders in the world I come from talking about this new chief of work role, who's really the person responsible for how things get done and how the workplace feels. I don't think we're there yet. In terms of roles, though, to your point, Byron, I do think there are heads of workplace experience as a role that did not exist. It depends on where sometimes it's in IT, often it's in real estate with some dotted line into HR. But I think that's where we have the biggest opportunity for improvement and transformation. Many of our places projects are all sitting at a C-suite level, even if it's just a pilot, because it's about driving people back into the workplace and having that experience. At the same time, you don't have that single point of contact owner because it's an IT thing over here, it's a workplace thing over here. So I think the jury's still out. I think we have some maturity to go here. These IT, HR, and real estate are closer than they ever have been, but I don't think you have that strong ownership quite yet who says, I own the outcome of how the workplace is truly experienced and how you measure success against that. So
Mehryn, let's start to bring this back to the to the industry, to the every man or woman that's sitting there, whether they're at the executive level, the steering an organization, or whether they're some of the more frontline doers and so on. What does this start to mean? You talked about the IT convergence with AV and a new skill set that's evolving. I sometimes sort of question is even this term of AV limiting, and maybe we should be looking at a wider proposition of where collaborative enablement, or what is the thing we serve as opposed to the thing we do. But I know you've spent a lot of time sort of thinking about how to take that channel that you are responsible for, and as you said, train them. What is that new skill set? Where are the opportunities now beyond being the guys that just hang things on a wall? And let's face it, the MTR ecosystem has reduced a lot of that complexity. That's not where we add value anymore, creating the bespoke, perfect room, although I want to get to a sort of a hyper-personalization issue in a bit. But what are the skill sets that you're seeing of those that recognize the legacy of what we do in AV and understanding the people and space elements and so on as well, perhaps beyond the IT space, but recognizing that we won't and can't exist in that sort of current form of fairly tactical, hardware-oriented AV enablement, and we have to sort of look at this broader piece, and that's where the places piece comes in. Who are the players that are really succeeding and seeing a tool like Places as a critical part to creating a new value proposition and workflow, as opposed to just selling some more kit?
I would say you got to kind of assess your people. Number one, there's different roles. From a technical standpoint, we definitely have had to do a lot of skilling up around more the IT administration side. We've got courses like MS 700 that walk you through what, at an end user, the role of admin is doing behind the scenes for, assigning rights and capabilities within teams. That's incredibly critical and important to the base foundation of any partner's knowledge of. You've got to truly understand from the point of view of a customer what they have to manage. That's foundation. The second is from a sales point of view. we've got to improve the ability for, I'd say, the ecosystem to feel confident in saying the word AI and knowing what they're talking about. I think people are somewhat fearful of calling themselves an AI expert, and truly, I mean, we've got badges around it. Like, hey, if you get through this course, we've got 8 modules and we're going to give you a foundational knowledge quiz at the end. Like, yes, you can call yourself an AI workplace expert. I think we want to build confidence in the channel of being able to talk the talk and walk the walk. I'm excited that we've started to see a lot of rebranding in the channel. We ourselves, we're the meeting room partner community. We're now the AI powered workplace partner community, and we've done a lot around rebranding. And that was intentional because we really want to put AI at the forefront. And we want to say workplace. We're more than just rooms. We're around experiences within the workplace. I'd say the third is really that technical solution provider. It's comfort in building services, not hardware base. I think there's a lot of, I would say, inherent wanting to build this beautiful bundle of hardware and then being able to package that up and continue to resell it. When you're talking about places, there's software and there is some hardware elements woven through that are providing signals, but you have to sort of start thinking that services are the future here and how everything is built around. So services on the front end and services on the back end. And it's a wonderful way for partners to differentiate themselves. There's lots of different ways that you could go with it. And there's lots of ways that you can incorporate third-party elements and services. I know Brennan's got a long list of them that he's working with on places. So I'd say the services element to me is the next wave of transformation for the AV industry. I think it's a really exciting place to be. And I think it's a different way to sell too. So it's not just a solution provider working on new services capabilities. Your sellers need to be motivated to sell those services. And that's not always a comfort level either. So it's building comfort in being able to sell AI, talk about AI, and deliver on those services. So that's kind of where I would leave it. There's a lot of different levels within that of different product categories that make it super complex, but you've got to find the people in your company that are excited about it and want to take charge and really give them some ownership here to help drive it.
That's the engine to this sort of transformation opportunity and moment that excites me, that it's easy to shift a box from A to B and hang it on a wall. But the harder part is that more abstract, that more value added and so on. And in an age of AI, to be able to shift from, we've been very good at being able to give analytics, for example, was it on, was it off, did it work, but not so good at being able to actually quantify, but did we achieve that broader objective of collaborative enablement and so on. And so perhaps, Brennan, I'll load 2 questions here for you. Firstly, is within the ecosystem that Places is creating, where do you see the opportunity to leverage that work IQ knowledge base that you sort of now contribute to, and saying, here's where you can aggregate that on top of the pure meeting room experience and so on, and build a new business model around accountability for outcome and so on. And then the second question would be, and are you seeing that embraced? Where is Places, this new sort of storyline of Places that's so opportunistic to build on, really being picked up? Is it the real estate? Are we seeing AV or the new hybrid organization of the AV channel starting to embrace that and really see this as an opportunity to transform into, again, maybe that collaborative enablement as opposed to just AV storyline that will enable all that sort of broader proposition that you're talking about, Mehryn? This
mindset of what is that in-room experience to what is the effectiveness of that room and my investments in that room is really important for our partners. And those who embrace that, did the room work as intended to, is it serving its purpose, are 2 different questions, right? And the dimensionality that comes from looking at how the rooms are being used from a capacity and utilization perspective that originates from the signals and our device partners through the Teams room into the portal is how we drive that effectiveness conversation. And, an example, like when I was at CBRE, I had a team that all we did was advise customers on what third-party sensors to put at a room or a desk or whatever. And these are, different devices that can measure, thermal occupancy, can look at, image processing, all these different options. And it depended upon what is the right sensor for your office and or your room based off of how much longer your lease is and all these other, factors. I say all that to say, like, all of this is now inherently built into how you fit out a room. So this collaboration owner within the organization or the enterprise who owns that, technically the kit, are they responsible for how that room is utilized and like understanding its utilization? And as IT now serving that back to facilities or real estate, right? This is now a signal that is a currency that you can reach across the aisle to facilities and go, hey, I got something for you. And you don't have to go pay a dime for something else new, unless you want a level of granularity or fidelity on your signal that gives you something that isn't available in the kit you're already paying for, right? So I think that speaks to the AI-powered workplace, is that we're broadening that value proposition, and we need partners. And we've already seen a lot of our AV partners, pick up on that value proposition and tell that not just at a room level, but what makes this an AI-powered workplace story is it's a desk level conversation as well. It's not Microsoft talking about rooms anymore. It's Microsoft and our partners talking about rooms and desks. And that allows us to have a holistic conversation on how is this space being used? What do these adjacencies look like relative to desks and rooms and all these other things that just broaden the quality of the conversation. And Byron, as you had said, like, this is only about outcomes. And we're moving beyond just room by room into, building by building or floor by floor, or organization to organization. And how is one organization using their space versus another is ultimately the type of advisory mindset that we have to embrace in order to deliver this value.
So, Mehryn, to getting real practical, is there can remain nameless, but is there a good case study? Is there a good channel partner that you have that you really see as done something really interesting with this, turned it into a different business model, a different financial model or something by taking some of this new data set and being able to leverage it?
It's early days. And so what's interesting is our partners acting themselves as customer zero and deploying it within their own organizations and sort of dog fooding it before they go and deliver it to the ecosystem. So I think our early wins are as our partners as customer zero delivering it to themselves, and the uptake and adoption that we're seeing there. That way, they're able to demonstrate to their customers, hey, I use this and look at my data set. I think there's a handful. I don't want to pick out my favorite one, my favorite child. I know from my point of view, the wow factor is being able to walk into, a partner's office and have them give an excellent demo and walkthrough of what a bookable desk looks like. Here's on my digital signage a view of all the different meeting rooms and which ones are booked, whatever else. I would say I don't want to pick. I'm so tempted to pick my favorite, and I don't have permission today to do it, so I'm not.
Well, don't use a name, but let's talk about what have they done? What's the outcome? I guess
I'd say Brennan has some good anecdotes on a lot of. Obviously, we do well at the enterprise as Microsoft, and so I think a lot of our pilots are happening at enterprise organizations that have deployed it. And some of the early successes, and Brennan, you shared a little bit of this yesterday, were just that the uptake and the use, like those that have deployed it, the usage on it is outstanding. I think the fact that it's sort of embedded, as Brennan said, into the workflow of the tools that they already use every day. So the fact that I'm letting my organization know which days a week that I'm going to be in the office, that seems to be a very nice habit forming activity that is resonating pretty well. There's other things like I'm letting you know that I'm attending virtually or in person. That just happens within Outlook or within Teams. There's little things that just show up that are a part of the solution and are really helpful to my everyday that just happen naturally. And I think people, because they don't have to think about it, are really using the tool and getting good value out of it.
There's definitely a tier of partners who have embraced this AI-powered workplace practice in the last year and really built out their places specialization. And who are in fact, sought after now by customers. I've had customers reach out to me and say, hey, can you connect me to so-and-so because I need help with the deployment? And so much of this mentality right now, if I'm an enterprise, is I'm going to pilot at about 1,000 to 2,000 people. And I got to get familiar and comfortable with what this product is. For the SMB market, we've seen customers of the same size or maybe a little bit larger go all in. And from day zero to day 45, they're fully ready to go and they have the product deployed. And in fact, as Mehryn was alluding to, like their usage is off the charts. I mean, we're seeing 60 to 70% of the licensed users and the number of people in the building using the product daily. It passes that toothbrush test of, I have to use this thing at least once, if not twice a day, to really make sure that I feel confident I have a space in the office. And why that's important is that really shows that value of, okay, like this is now just a part of our workflow. The customers and the partners that are most successful are those who have figured out the change management comms and training attributed to driving this new behavior change. Yes, walking up to my desk or my monitor and plugging in my laptop can check me into my desk reservation, update my location in Teams, and give an organization an occupancy signal. But the reality is that is a behavior change from what many people are used to. And the organizations that have been most successful are those that have been most thoughtful in their ability to communicate that change. And that is different in some ways than other Microsoft products where there's a new feature in Teams that just kind of showed up. I'm like, oh, what is this here? This is pretty cool. And it's helpful to me. Like there's a much more deliberate mechanism here relative to how we use and consume space that needs a partner or a sophisticated customer to drive that education awareness. And I continue to be impressed by the bundling of packages and comms and things that our partners are also doing to not just deliver and deploy the product and get it configured, but to also help drive and create that change.
Yeah, I love that sort of storyline. We're shifting from sell something today and come back in 5 years to a much more continuous, ongoing partnership relationship in delivering the outcome and the accountability. I guess that was really the important part of the engagement with the customer. We're running out of time here a bit, but I want to sort of leave with one last sort of important discussion, I think, and that's around AI's capacity for hyper-personalization. We've lived the last 10 years talking about standardization, and certainly Teams has been a critical part to that, to overcome a whole bunch of those frictions that we had of rooms were different and UX and UI was different and they were unmanageable because we needed some consistency and so on. And that certainly solved a bunch of things, but it also commoditized everyone into the average and said, you can have any flavor you want as long as it's vanilla. I guess as part of where I see a future here with some of the enablement tools that Microsoft's creating, that the broader AI proposition is creating, is a bit of a pendulum swing back, maybe into a third dimension, but where ultimately, I guess, Brennan, a lot of what you're doing with Places is this hyper personalization to me. It understands me, it understands my context, and it helps. Rather than if I have perhaps a bit more diversity in room type for different application and so on, you'll be able to start to drive, well, let me find the right type of room for you, as opposed to necessarily putting the onus on you to now have to pick from this bigger smorgasbord. So do you see that natural sort of pendulum swing is coming back, and that there will be a bit more diversity, which adds a bit more value to, again, where the AV community in particular can start to say, we could actually sit down and understand a user and their needs and give them a bit more diversity within a framework of still solving some of those management and consistency propositions as well. And I guess I sort of throw that out as a challenge to all of us to say there is a space for us to find this new reality, and that's where real value can start to be delivered once we understand how we can take this new foundation and work with it. So is that hyper-personalization proposition something that that you see is a part of this future, and how we can sort of get back to adding some greater value to the end user, as opposed to perhaps solving the management proposition, the back end operational proposition of some of this?
Yeah, I mean, Mehryn, I think you started with context, and I think we'll probably kind of end on context. Like context is king, and I think what isn't being spoken about a lot, or at least maybe as much as other pieces of value relative to Copilot, are the instructions that you can leave with Copilot relative to your preferences. So there is a body work within our organization, anything about calendar and Places and all these things, that's effectively memory, such that it remembers your personal preferences at a desk level, or your accessibility requirements, or whatever those things are. So the next time I go back to asking for a room or asking for a meeting with Mehryn, like those things. What is my favorite room, or what is my favorite space, or all those things. So that's real, and it continues to mature and advance quite rapidly. And I think that's where you get into your point, this hyper personalization of you don't have to worry about it in your professional life. And I think I've got a lot of fun examples at home. I don't have the best memory, so I'm using my AI at home to remember which bourbon's in the decanter, things like that. But that translates into things that are much more professional and productive in nature. So I think hyper personalization will come from the memory that's available within the models to support our daily needs.
Yeah, I was going to add to it. Like, I think I've been enjoying Copilot myself too. I use it every day, all day, every day. Used it to prepare for today, but it is Microsoft's custom built tool that we're delivering to you, and it gives you a lot of value. What I think the next wave of agents that's going to come is going to provide that next level of customization too. And I think that's where the partner ecosystem might have the opportunity to step in and build their own agents that do unique things. So we introduced interpreter agent and facilitator agent this year. Facilitator sort of joining your meeting and doing things on your behalf or your team's behalf, not just for you individually. Interpreter that's allowing you to kind of consume that meeting in the way that you want to hear it as far as language. Sky's the limit on where we can go with agents. I'm somewhat excited for the day where I can invite a specialized agent into the meeting that knows exactly on that particular topic and have a discussion with it. I think we're not too far away, and that's all, in my mind, a way to further personalize and provide value. So I'm encouraged that there are a lot of our partners in the ecosystem that are already on track on building their own agents. You think about our Microsofts, like when you start a meeting and there's all these different types of apps within Teams, all of those will be different types of agents that you can invite to your meeting potentially. So I think that's exciting and a whole new level of personalization.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more that the very nature of a meeting in a couple of years will be very dynamically different as we're not just talking about reactive bots for lack of a better term, but truly interactive, proactive, participatory agents, digital and analog human partnership that that will drive a new realm of what the collaborative process looks like, which I think is very exciting. So, look, I'm sure we could keep going for hours here. We talked at this before we got going here that there's probably we could talk for 4 hours on this sort of stuff, but let's sort of wrap that up. Certainly some of these propositions, a bit of a plug for anyone listening for ISE. I've got Brennan involved in a session on the Tuesday. We'll be talking about all these types of parameters there, and certainly my urging to all is that ISE, particularly this year, I think we're going to start to see a maturing, and don't just show up to wander around, look for AI on a box, but really challenge yourself to say, this is a transformational moment here, and I need to go in with some objectives. It's such a broad and wide topic that certainly don't try and tackle everything, but go in with an objective to say, what does this new workspace proposition mean? Or, what is that agentic proposition going to mean to a meeting and so on, and try and challenge yourself to come out with something and play a leadership role. And, certainly I think, credit to Microsoft, as a market maker, even things like Places is becoming something practical and mainstream as opposed to something obscure. And so credit to all of the work that you're doing to actually transform the potential for not just a Microsoft ecosystem and stack, but what that broader proposition is. So, but I'll let you both wrap up here with a parting couple of words. I guess ask you to firstly share, if people want to get in touch with you or follow you in some form or another, what the usuals of how to get a hold of you are. But I guess perhaps just a parting suggestion to anyone out there of where their focus might be and where there are perhaps Microsoft resources that they can consume. You already talked about a couple of courses there, Mehryn, but what are those first steps if I get it, and the story inspired me today, but I still need to figure out what step 1 and step 2 is to travel that path. So perhaps I'll let you start, Brennan, and then let Mehryn wrap up.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thanks again for having me. One, at a personal level, LinkedIn, best way to find me. Please reach out, connect. Happy to continue dialogues with anybody who wants to take on this topic. At a community level, we do have a partner and customer created Places community on LinkedIn as well. So we encourage everybody to jump into there, and there's a natural dialogue that continues to mature and evolve. From a Microsoft perspective, we have a Places adoption page that has a ton of resources that Mehryn and the team and we've created for both customers and partners. And then lastly, we have weekly customer office hours for all customers and partners to just show up in the spirit of what the team and Teams Rooms has done over the years. We've created our own on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. The link is on our adoption page. And like I said, anybody can show up to engage with ourselves from a PG perspective, to learn from what our customers are hearing from other partners. It's been a great forum, and it's a pretty candid, raw daily or weekly dialogue, which is super fun. You never know what you're going to get, but it's been a fun way to listen and learn from others.
As a regular participant on that, a great way to see real world problems down to the nitty gritty of a problem that I'm having. Can you solve it? And so on.
Down to the PowerShell
resource for sure.
Down to the PowerShell, right? So.
What's really cool about those two is that it's not just Microsoft giving answers. It's your fellow community members that have joined the call. Like, oh, I had that problem last week. Let me show you how I fixed it. So it's a good way to build community and knowledge as well. I didn't mean to close for you, Brennan. I think you touched on all of the great resources that we have. I think the timing of this could not be any better, Byron, by the way. We will have a major skilling moment in the beginning of January. I think when this is released, we will have 3 new badges for 2026. We have our Microsoft Teams Rooms sales badge. We have our Microsoft Teams Rooms technical badge, and we have our Microsoft Places technical badge. All were moved from Expert Zone platform. Brennan, I'm telling you this today. This might be news to you too. We've got everything moving over to the Level Up platform, which is where a lot of our modern workloads reside. So I have links to 2 of them. The third should be available, I think, next week. So by the time this is going live, we'll have 3 new badges up for 2026. And we'll also be hosting a AI-powered workplace bootcamp January 15th and 16th. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can access that registration link. I'll be sure to post it. We'll be talking everything Teams Phone, Teams Rooms, Places, and events. So it's a great place to skill up. And that will be another badging moment available. So in the month of January, you can access 4 different badges to prove your chops when it comes to Microsoft and this particular workload. And we'd love to have you join us. I think it's great content, and it will help build confidence for sure.
And where can people get a hold of you, Mehryn?
LinkedIn is the best way as well. As Brennan said, you can find us there, and would love to have you join us. I also do podcasts with Jimmy Vaughn and Matt Slomka weekly. It's the 10-minute update. We try to squeeze as much as we can from a week's worth of news into 10 minutes, and we usually have a lot of fun with it. So give me a follow, and we'll share that as well.
Excellent. Well, look, let's wrap it up there. Thank you both. Look, it's such an exciting time of opportunity. The key is, can we go and seize it? And I guess my message, as always, is that that leadership doesn't have to come from the top. It can come from anywhere across the organization, and even perhaps to go back to your point, Brennan, it's not just about in that professional workplace. It's the more you use it in every aspect of your life. Tracking your bourbon, as you said, is critical to this moment as well. But thank you both for your leadership, and we'll see you at ISE in a few weeks' time. For everyone. Look out for the megatrends smart spaces session that Brennan and I will be a part of, and indeed look for the NEXXT Explore agenda in the couple of days in advance of the show as well. You can go and take a look at that on the NEXXT website at www.nextnow.com. With that, we'll leave it, and thank you everyone who's joined us this first season. We'll take a bit of a break and hopefully be back probably in the spring, the northern spring, with season 2 of the Next Question. Thanks everyone for joining us.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.